All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. I was out here moving like an old man trying to fill this technology out, but I'm like, it's whatever. We'll get there. Um, but we got an amazing guest today, and we got Phil today. Ryan's out sick, hoping for a speedy recovery with that. But we got Jason Berginski in the building from Move It Pro. What an honor. Jason, how's everything been?
Things been good, man. Staying busy. Looking a lot more optimistic about the moving industry as a whole. I think this year, I think we're gonna things will start picking up for everyone. I think it's gonna be really good. And
Okay.
yeah, man, we're just staying busy.
Okay, so congratulations on that milestone that you mentioned the other day. For those that don't know, I believe Jason mentioned that year to date, company to date, he hit the hundred
Not year
million
to date
dollar.
yet.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
history of the company. They managed to hit $100 million, and that's a milestone to
Yeah.
definitely post in the office. I know you got a huge office down there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's super exciting. I think the big thing on that is we didn't take any debt to get there. A lot of companies they hit big numbers, but they've taken on a ton amount of money in debt.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
And I think that's been one of the things that kind of was instilled into me from when I was a kid. When I was in the moving industry and we ran a moving company here in Florida, is that we tried not to go in debt, which was some of the stuff that saved us during the economy crash in 05, oh 06. And the fact that we were able to hit that in 9 years is what we hit it at. We're at about a $24 million a year burn right now is what we're bringing in. And that's
Okay,
between Move It Pro and Lion's Den, which is the two sister companies that we have. Lion's Den is our booking service where we book moves for movers.
okay.
Um,
Now you talking some big words there. What do you mean by burn? For those that don't understand.
yeah, I mean, as far as just revenue, how much revenue we're bringing in per year?
As a moving business owner, your day starts with a plan. But what happens when your movers don't show and that plan falls apart? Last minute no-shows. You're left to bootstrap, jumping in as an extra body. Yet sometimes, even that's not enough. This isn't just a disruption, it's a barrier to your business growth. Introducing Moving Force, your on-demand moving team. With Moving Force, say goodbye to no-shows and hello to peace of mind. With reliable, on-demand staff ensures you're never undermanned, turning your operational nightmares into a thing of the past. Moving Force, where every day is moving day and every move is smooth. Empower your business and keep growing without missing a beat. Join Moving Force today and move forward with confidence.
Is where we're
Okay,
at now.
okay,
Yep, yep.
okay.
Um,
And then we do have Phil, the amazing All About Moving Tampa Bay, who's also a client of yours. So I know he's had amazing stuff to say about your
oh, cool.
software. He's a little quiet over there. Um,
Nice to meet you, Philip.
Hey, nice to meet you, brother.
but yeah, Phil, what's been going on your side of the neck of the woods?
We've been busy. We took on a government contract here in the last month, and it's a little bit of a challenge for the guys, but they're working through it. Um, that's really good what Jason said there about not taking on any debt. That's always been my theory with this moving company
Yeah.
of not accumulating debt. It's nice to have all these brand new trucks and yada yada yada, but I'm just a firm believer in no debt, less debt
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it is tempting. It's very tempting because you hear, oh, the SBA wants to, give you a loan, or there's
yeah.
always these line of credits, and I've been a big fan of the line of credits because I'm like, well, you don't want to always be eating out of your operating budget because you
Mhm.
never know what type of random expenses you're gonna have.
Hmm.
And so I kind of like for me, reading the book Profit First, it was like, hey, break things up into buckets. So all your money going into your operating account, and then it's being divided into separate buckets so that you know that you got money for your taxes, you got money for your profit account. So if you need rainy day money, etc. So I feel like we used to have like a line of credit where that was just solely for expenses, and we would just kind of like pay it back at the month's end.
Last minute crisis? We've got you covered. When your moving staff is short, Moving Force steps in. Instantly connect with a network of trusted movers ready to handle the job. Fast sign-ups, trusted network, reliable solutions. Don't let last-minute issues slow you down. Help is just a tap away. Download the app and sign up for free today.
So I don't know if that's kind of like going into debt, or is that kind of like just
Yeah, I mean, for us anyway. I mean, I'll tell you. I mean, we have American Express that we use. I mean, so we're putting debt on. We're just paying it off. We're paying it off every month. Move It Pro has a credit line. We don't use it too much. When we had J&J Metro, so that was the moving company. I kind of grew up in. My grandmother and my father originally bought that moving company back in the 80s, right around when I was a baby. But they went into debt when they built our first building. But they did a 15-year term on it, and they paid it off quickly. And honestly, I think that's one of the things that saved us during the recession, because, if you look back in Florida anyway, when J&J Metro first started, there was Yellow Pages is where you got all your business. Man, times have changed now, but there was maybe 2 pages when J&J Metro started of movers in Central Florida. By 2008, there was about 30 pages of movers. J&J at the time, we used to have a double page spread. That was where if you're opening the book in mover section, we had both pages. You had all, real big. And back then, if you had Yellow Page ads, your phone just rang. I mean, it just matter what happened. I mean, you didn't have to have a great company. You didn't have to have a million reviews. You didn't have to own your trucks. It didn't matter because there wasn't the internet as much, right? But then as time went on and then the economy, started booming when everything was selling in 05, 06, all these movers that were competitors of ours, and the reason I mentioned the Yellow Pages, again, we're 30 pages, right? 30 pages of movers. And right before the recession, and all these movers went out and bought brand new buildings, brand new trucks, kind of similar to what we just experienced during COVID, right? All these movers, we originally thought movers weren't going to do so good, right? We were all scared in the beginning of COVID. But then we realized the moving industry actually, and as a whole, for the most part, did really good during COVID. People were moving a lot. There was the PPP money. There's a lot of things going on that really helped movers get through it. And so a lot of these movers, and we've seen it with some of our customers, they went out and bought all brand new trucks and went and bought brand new buildings. They bought all this because you didn't have to hunt for customers then. Customers, your phone just rang. But now we're in a little bit of a different climate, which is the similar to happen in 2008, where the clientele seized up. Houses aren't selling as much right now with the interest rates high. Similar to back then. Everyone was foreclosing on homes. People couldn't afford their homes. And we saw the Yellow Pages go from 30 pages of movers back down to about 5. Half of them went out of business. Half of them couldn't afford the Yellow Page. They couldn't sustain. And that was a really good time for us. While it was hard and our revenue went down, there's no doubt about it for the moving company. But the fact was that we had the cash to be able to buy up a lot of the assets of those moving companies that were struggling. And that is a power play that's happening right now. I mean, I've seen some moving companies. I mean, Jay's Moving and Storage, one of ours, had been customers for years. They're over 100 years old, went out of business about a year ago. I mean, shocking to me. I've seen some of these big boys, they go into big debt. Big boys, big debt, right? They go buy these 200,000 square foot buildings. They do all this stuff, and then they can't fund it when things turn. So that's always been our philosophy and why we kind of changed. I'll tell you, had we had a bunch of debt, the last 2 years for us, we've maintained pretty good revenue wise, which is good. but our cost of everything's gone up, just like you guys. You know, our
Hmm.
insurance has gone up. Gosh, forbid, our payroll has gone up. I mean, everyone wants to make more money. All these things, and if we had a bunch of debt, you know, we would have it would have hurt us, you know, versus we're able to flourish and continue to grow. So
Oh yeah. No, yeah, definitely the power of cash flow is king. And you know, it's similar to what I teach my clients. It's like, hey, make sure you get these budgets, you know, make sure that even in the rough times, if you have a low week or whatever the case is, if as long as you had a positive week where you brought in money, divvy it up. Don't just put all of it towards payroll. Well, obviously pay your payroll, but you know, anything extra,
sure.
you know, spread it out because at the end of the year, if you have a great year and tax and IRS wants to tax you 8, 9,000 and you don't have that money, you're crying, you
Yeah.
know? And some people are already crying in the winter months where they're like, oh, I got to dig in my own pockets to pay payroll and I'm not going to be able to pay myself. I've been through it. It sucks.
Yeah.
Um, and I got a good friend of mine who's in Florida who's just, you know, at this point, he's burnt out. You know, he's been running a moving company for, you know, 9+ years now, and he's burnt out. He's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to probably sell out, you know, at this point. And
Yeah.
it's the industry's only getting rougher.
Yeah. It definitely has. I mean, it's you know, it's I think a lot of the stuff has gotten rougher. Some of the stuff's gotten easier. I mean, technology's definitely helped the moving industry, I think. I mean, I'm back in the, you know, and not that I'm that old. I'll be 40 this September, so I'm, you know, not saying I'm old, but I go back long in the moving industry. You know, I remember being 10, 12 years old in the moving company and going there and you know, to get guys to come in the next day, no one had cell phones.
Mm.
So all the drivers had a company pager.
Oh, geez.
Now just think about that. You're giving all your guys pagers. You know, I mean, imagine now. It's like paying for all your guys to have cell phones. Man, they're losing them all the time. But I mean, the funny thing about that, I mean, now it's so easy for us, right? We text the guys. If you have a CRM, you can have it automatically tell them when their jobs are going to be, where they got to like. But back then, you know, uh, the first pagers they had was, you know, you remember the old, you had to do a code. You know, it was really only made to put a phone number in, but you put a code. So you know, 730 space space space, you know, whatever to tell them to come in, right? And then they'd have to find a payphone because a lot of them didn't have home phones. They'd have to find a payphone to call back and let us know they're showing up.
Oh,
Um,
I thought
so
I
I
had
mean
it bad.
that's gotten tremendously easier, right? I mean that
Hmm.
was bad. I mean imagine no shows back then. You couldn't
Oh,
call and
no,
yell at them and say where the hell
no.
you at?
You just
You-
gotta fire them. I know you got your pager. I know you've seen your ringer.
yeah. So I mean, I think there's been, you know, a lot. I think employees as a whole has gotten harder. I think that's just the mentality in general of the entire population of America, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, People like flopping jobs a lot more than they used to 25 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that makes sense. I know that when we first around 2014, 2000, between 2014, 2016, when we didn't really have um Google Maps like that around that time. And we were,
MapQuest directions. Yeah.
yes. And that was a nightmare in its own, especially when these guys' phones weren't working or whatever the
Uh,
case is. And like, oh, we had to dispatch them and they're like, hey, well, my phone is working. I can't get to the customer's house. How am I going to get there? And I had to print out MapQuest. And I'm like, Lord, your phone is off. You have to try to follow these directions.
yeah.
Customers are calling, where the guys at? Oh, they left like 30 minutes ago. They should be there any time now.
I mean, the funny thing is, I got one better than that. But again, it's just. But even that was a transition. MapQuest, when that first came out, that was the best thing in the world for the moving industry at the time. Because before that, I don't know if you know, we used to have a map that was about 8 foot wide by 6 foot tall in our warehouse that had Central Florida. And when the guys were dispatched in the morning, they would have to look at that map and figure out themselves how to get to Miss Sally's house. And then when we would dispatch in the morning or when we'd book the job, we had a space on our order for service that had where the customer would tell us directions. You're going to take I-4 east. You're going to get off at exit 92. You're going to.
Lord.
I mean, it's just yeah. So I mean, those things, right? A lot has changed, you know.
Yeah.
When we got GPS tracking for our trucks, I mean, that was one of the best things in the world. Finding out all the wasted time that was happening, or the guys that were getting free stuff from customers and driving 45 minutes out of the way to go drop
Oh,
that off at their
geez.
house, and you know, doing side gigs or all the different things, you know.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the numbers a little bit. So, with regards to that, so I know Phil, I don't know if you've been, I know you got the new operations manager or so like that, but have you been monitoring like the fuel and truck mileage and stuff like that? I know you own your trucks, but I know that's still an important metric.
Well, as you know, my wife pretty much runs the moving company. I don't want to sit here and sound like I know a lot about this
That's a good
company.
man.
I'm not going to lie to you. I know we have Move It Pro. To be honest with you, we've had it for several years. I've opened it up maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I was just looking. I was looking when I didn't know you're a customer. Thank you for being a customer. Yeah, 57 months you've been a customer. So that's about almost
Nice,
5 years.
nice,
That's
woohoo,
You're coming up on 5 years. That's awesome.
nice. Yeah, my wife really loves the system there.
That's good. We appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah.
far as keeping up with like mileage and things, of course, my wife, I know she keeps up with it for tax purposes. Um, but prior to us having a CRM, we didn't know anything. You
Yeah,
know,
no, I hear that. And I've, again, I've been with a lot of CRMs and stuff like that, where some CRMs have too much reporting, some don't have enough. And I feel like I've always done just like my offline reporting of what's really important KPIs, and I try to pull whatever I can from the CRMs to make sense of the big picture. But one of the most important things I felt like we needed to measure was the truck usage. Not only did we have to report it to the state how many miles we drove, but we also had to pay, because we leased our trucks. So we had to pay a per mile rate. We had to pay for fuel, so these were all things we had to regulate on a weekly basis. Oh, okay, hey, what's the fuel report? How much fuel did we use with all the gas cars that we got out this week? Okay, why? Why was it 1,600 or $2,000 this week, and last week it was only like, 1,000, 1,200? What's that discrepancy right there that we went higher this week? And these were all meetings we had to have about fuel, and then the mileage, it was like, okay, well, hey, this we in the CRM, let's say we was using Move It Pro, it told us what our round trip miles were.
hmm
So it was like, oh, well, these guys should have only went 30 miles, but on our truck it says that they started with this mile because obviously we have checkout forms. It says, hey, where's the mile starting at for the day? And then we have the end of day forms where it says, hey, the miles ended here for the day. So it's just like they went well over 30. They went 50, 60 miles. Well, where did they go? Oh, well, they dropped
hmm
this guy at home and then they decided to come back to the shop.
Oh yeah. So I'll tell you.
The guys never do that, do they?
I'll tell you
We
what.
had, I'll tell you, like one story. I mean, we just GPS tracking was a big thing for us. So we had the mile marker for us to invest in GPS tracking was probably very early on when it first came out, long, long time ago. But I remember we had a mover that guys went out and did it. I mean, this is, gosh, probably 18, 20 years ago. Goes out and does a move, beautiful house. Um, and they don't finish the move. They got to go back the next day. And a couple of the things, they didn't finish the shed in the back. The shed in the back had a four-wheeler and zero turn lawnmower, had some nice stuff in it. And they are going back because the customer they just had too much stuff, so they're gonna go back the next morning. Well, the four wheeler had a flat tire on it, so we had one of our guys that decided when he got back to the shop, he fired up the air compressor, filled it up full of air, loaded it into one of the trucks, kept the keys to the truck, and that night around 9, 10 o'clock at night, he got in the truck and went back to that house by himself to steal in people's four-wheeler. And
Hmm.
so goes there, ends up gets it loaded, he's a liftgate truck. It's nighttime, so he don't want to leave the truck running because, people are gonna hear the
Hmm.
truck and whatever. So the truck won't start when it's time for him to leave.
Oh man.
Neighbor comes out. Oh, I'm with the moving company. Yeah, we had to come back and get stuff. The neighbor helps him jump the truck, get it started again, leaves. We found that truck in Miami.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesus.
The next morning, the police show up asking about it. All right, we had no idea what was going on, but yeah, this guy, he went to Miami. We never saw him again. I mean, he was fired. He's done. But I mean, things like that. I mean, we didn't have GPS tracking then, and it's sad, but little things like that, without it, it happens. And it
Mm.
happens in all of our companies, whether we realize it or not. And that's the biggest thing that we soon realized once we got GPS tracking. And it had nothing even to do with Move It Pro. Back then, Move It Pro wasn't even a thought back then. But we soon realized the cost we spent on GPS tracking every month, we were saving in payroll and fuel alone. Because
Mm.
when the guys knew we weren't dicks about it. I mean, we weren't watching every little move, but we could see where they're at. When a customer called and said, "Hey, how far away is my movers?" We didn't have to call the guys and find out where they're at. We could just look on the map and say, "Oh, they're right on I-10. They're right around the corner." The fact that we could see if they were still at the gas, our routine was they'd leave the shop in the morning, they'd all stop at the gas station, fuel up the truck, and get their snacks and drinks for the day. Well, sometimes them guys would want to be there for 45 minutes to an hour.
mhm.
You know, for us, we charged the customer, from the time the guys got there to the time they left, plus a travel time. The guys got that travel time. So in reality, the guys weren't being paid for it anyway. But at the same time, when we tell a customer we're going to be there between 8 and 9, and the guys are at Wawa till 9, the customer's pissed off, right? So it changed a lot of things for us. That's why I mean, really, with technology is exciting for me, especially in the moving industry, because we're so far behind, or we've been very far behind over the last many years.
Yeah.
Um, that we're
And that's
finally
what,
getting.
oh no, I was gonna say, and that's why I think we had to really chomp down on, even though we said 8 to 9 or whatever the case is, and we know these guys want to be, get there at the last minute.
Yeah,
Some people actually was paying for movers to leave their warehouse, like as soon as they get to the warehouse and until they get back.
yeah.
And I realized that 8 to 9 situation, why the guys, if they got here at 7:30, why they're getting to the customer's house at 9 when we knew
Hmm.
that we projected that they should be there way before then.
Yeah.
And now we're paying them just to be at a gas station getting some food or whatever the case is. Or people are just saying, you know what, I'll take 30 minutes off your clock because I know that you guys are gonna go get some food or whatever the case is. And it's not, and then some people say, well, I didn't take a break. Why should I be penalized by the next person or whatever the case is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a mover. I can't control what the driver does.
yeah. So I tell you what, something we done last year, and it worked. Because we're I run our company by the books. Everybody's on the books. 1040. We still got a couple 1099 guys, but we have a time clock at the office. You clock in when you get there. You clock out when you leave. Once again, that gas station problem started occurring. So we pulled everybody in the office, and said, "Hey, how about we do this? How about we all agree that, hey, we're just going to dock 30 minutes of your time every day for gas station stops because they're going to stop.
Yeah.
You got all these trucks out running. And you don't want to be that guy. A guy may have woke up late. We all do. He's got a headache. He needs some Advil. He's going on a 12-hour job,
Yeah.
or he was in a rush, got out of his car, left his lunchbox, because at the end of the day, it's probably going to cause a little bit more of a problem on the job of a guy not having any food. He's going to be irritable and probably get nasty with client, yada, yada, yada. So we just automatically deduct that 30 minutes, and everybody agreed, like, you know what? Because a mass majority of guys, if that truck stops, they're all getting out. They all forgot something. They're movers. They all forgot something. I hate to say it that way, but we found it a little bit better for us, and everybody just said, okay, it's 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
I'm
And they
sure
go
it's
into it knowing about it. So they go into knowing about it, then they're probably going to take that 30 minutes, even if they wouldn't normally,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I figured, after, and you guys know this industry is just up in the air. You can send your guy his schedule. He can think he has a 5-hour job, gets there, and Mrs. Ingleton says, oh, I forgot to pack,
Yeah.
5-hour job then turned into a 13-hour day, 14-hour day,
Yeah.
No, don't
and
say
the
that
guy.
out too loud.
Yeah. The thing is, I think, yeah, in Florida, there's no regulations on that. California,
Oh, oh
yeah,
yeah, because y'all
Florida,
not regulated like. Well, no,
Florida,
isn't that
we're
federal?
pretty lucky. Um, when
Yeah.
when we had J&J Metro, our IM number was 120, IM 120. So we
Mm.
was in 1968. So
Wow.
what is yours, Philip?
20, 26, 21.
26, 21. Yeah, so I think they're up into 3 or 4 thousands now. So it's interesting. The
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the industry has definitely changed in Florida some, but Florida is pretty lenient. There's definitely some states that are more lenient. I mean, Wisconsin, there's no regulations at all for movers, um, which is very interesting. I mean, if you're doing cross country stuff, you still have to deal with DOT, but there's no, like here in Florida, we have, literally you have to be registered, just like most states. You have to be registered as a mover. You got to make sure you're insured. You got to do all that stuff. Wisconsin's way more lenient. California, I don't. They wake up one day every day and they change their laws. It's
Yeah. New York, well, when you get audited in New York, because we were already regulated from a local standpoint, but
yeah.
we also get the federal side as well when we get audited. So they come in with both dogs ready to go. Like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
well, let's check your logbooks. Let's make sure that you're not going over like 12 hours or whatever the case is, because obviously, they need to have that rest break between the 12 hours, etc. And then you get the local side where it's just like, hey, we want to make sure that all your driver files and all that other stuff is in compliance.
Yeah, we don't have any of that. Do you have to deal with that, Philip, anymore? Or is
No.
that that's on that? I'll just make sure it hasn't changed.
No.
Like I know California because we've done a lot of development for Californian companies. I mean, they got to charge double drive time, which we have it in our system. I don't really understand it. I'm not Californian. I mean, they got to pay overtime, anything over I think 8 hours.
Mhm.
I mean, just a lot of things. So it makes it a lot more complicated being a mover,
Yeah. No,
owning a moving company. I
yeah,
mean,
go ahead, go ahead.
it just happens all the time, as we know, that you estimate a job based on what the customer told you is going to be 6, 7 hours.
Hmm.
And you show up and the customer forgot to tell you about the 200 boxes in her attic for Christmas and her, the shed in the back and this and that. And I can't imagine having to deal with that customer and saying, well, we can only work 8 hours today. If we can keep working, but now the rates instead of 200 an hour, it's now 350 an hour. Like
Well,
they already
well,
complain when it's 30 minutes more, not
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. That makes sense.
Overpay.
And New York State is weird because we are based on a tariff. As long
yeah,
as you report your rate, they don't care what you charge. Unlike, Georgia, who's a max rate tariff, they can't
yep.
charge over like 149. New York State, hey, we don't care what you charge as long as you let us know what you're going to charge.
We can
So,
charge whatever we want here. You just might not
Yeah.
get business if you overprice yourself.
Right. Like it's like an open game. You
Yeah,
know, I thought at one time, Jason, I said, maybe it may be a little bit better here if we had a tariff to kind of keep it regulated. But it's like the wild, wild west. We charge, I think, with a fair rate for,
yeah,
but our business is going to be different, even though, Johnny down the road, he has a moving company with an IM number, but he's running his business out of his home, and it's him and his sons, and
yeah,
they're all 1099 compared to, like a company that, have work comp and have all the, overhead,
for
and
sure.
Johnny's charging, $75 an hour for two people. And, here you are 150, 160
Yeah,
bucks an hour.
you can't even compete. You can't even
No,
compete. Yeah,
no. And I thought at first a regulation would be helpful. But then I'm like, man, maybe it's just a little bit more stuff because the consumer's not dumb anyway. As we think that they are not smart, they've reached a lot of these guys now with all the horror stories,
Oh, yeah.
holding things hostage and things. And I think we have a really good reputation. I
Sure.
think we're coming into our 8th year, I believe, 7 or 8 years, and we have a really good reputation,
Yep.
and it just kind of almost sells itself when we get a consumer calling. So, um,
Yeah, and that's good. I think from what I've seen, the majority, I don't like regulations personally. I mean, here's the thing: the problem that I see with regulations, and obviously there's some regulations are good, but the problem I see is the regulations are only going to affect the good guys that are trying to actually run a legit good business. Because you're still going to have the rogue movers out there. They don't give a flip about IM numbers. They don't care about insurance. They don't care about any of that anyway. So if you put regulations, I mean, it ain't like they're going to follow them. So then it makes it harder for the legit movers, and that's the interesting thing about it. You know, every state deals with these rogue movers, and just like you said, I mean, they'll have two guys in a van or two guys in a U-Haul truck for $75 an hour. I mean, you can't even dispatch your guys for with a truck payment, insurance, workers' comp, unemployment, everything you're paying with two guys in a truck for you're losing money,
yeah,
and so you can't even compete. And so, um, the thing about it is the regulations. From what I've seen, most moving companies, it hurts them bad. Obviously, I think it's good that we have to be licensed to be a actual moving company in the state of Florida, have a registration number. So to get a IM 120 or IM number here in the state of Florida, you got to make sure you have insurance. I think you got to make sure your directors, none of them have been felons. And there's a couple other little things like that. So you're weeding out some of the crap, right? But it's not terribly bad to get it. I think you should
Yeah.
have insurance anyway, and you probably don't want a bunch of felons moving your stuff. The,
Yeah,
the owner of the company, right? So
it's
those I can agree with.
yeah,
The
it's a
ones where
double-edged
they,
sword with that.
yeah, yeah. But the ones where they're getting into, I mean, this is how much you're allowed to charge. This is how much you're allowed to charge for a packed box. This is how much you're allowed. I mean, like how do you know? Like, you
right.
can tell me how to do my business. So it's
Yeah.
interesting, but I'm happy to live in Florida. I think I was born and raised here in Florida. Obviously, I really like our state. I think there's a lot of people fleeing to Florida.
Oh
Are
yeah.
there's more people coming in right now than moving out. A lot of Californians. I'll tell you, there's a lot of Californians coming, which is neat. Is interesting. They have a little different mentality than some of us Floridians, but I think they're coming along the Floridian way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, thank you all for who's joining currently watching this podcast. Definitely don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. But also I get what you're saying when you say about the regulations and stuff like that. I feel like similar to like Phil, you like you said, you're in the Wild Wild West down there, where in New York, yes, it sucks that you kind of have to have everything on paper or whatever the case is. Um, but I think it's also easier because it makes in New York, hey, you can't give discounts. So, when you call that customer and say, hey, my rate's gonna be this, they're like, oh, can you do it for a little cheaper? Well, unfortunately we can't, so it's kind of like, and they know that you're not, if you're regulated, you're not playing games with that because New York State doesn't like discounts. They don't even accept it.
How bad do they
Um,
Yeah,
crack down on rogue movers there?
so speaking with DOT directly, they have been making a progress process to get in licensed a little bit easier than it has been in previous years. One of the requirements was a fit test. Fit test basically saying that, hey, you have somebody in your organization that has at least 2 years of working for a licensed moving company in New York. And that was very challenging for me because when I first started out, I didn't have any experience,
Sure.
working for anybody. I just started it out. So I'm like, well, hey, I'm already 2, 3 years into my business, and I didn't even know I needed a local license because
Yep.
I didn't have anybody to tell me differently. So when somebody said, "Hey, do you got your local license for New York?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I got my USDOT, I got my MC number. They're like, "No, no, you need a state license number." Man, no, I don't. So then I was like, you know what? Look into this just in case.
Yeah.
And then DOT was like, "Hey, you need this." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how can I apply?" "Oh, well, do you have anybody that worked for your company for another moving company for 2 years?" No. Well, you need to get that experience or whatever the case is, or we're not going to approve you or whatever the case is. I'm like, so you kind of want me to shut my company down and go work for somebody for 2 years and then come back? I'm not getting this.
Yeah.
And it was so weird, but because I had my federal license, they were like, "Oh yeah, you can do state moves for, a probationary period and then well, state to state and then come back and we'll see if we could work something out for you." And I'm like, "So I can go over state lines, but I can't go 5 minutes down the street?" Um okay.
Yeah, how does that make sense? That makes no sense.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, it's weird. It's definitely these. Obviously, Florida doesn't have it, but I know that when I got my moving company out in Florida set up, it was challenging because there was no regulations and pricing, and I felt like, hey, you know what? As long as we know our margins, we'll charge what we need to charge. But the rates we charging in New York and the wages that they make in
Oh,
Florida,
it's way different now.
yeah, like I'm like this person wants me to drive from say Fort Pierce area to um I forget what the city was. It was far though, because everything's far in
Yeah.
Florida. And he was like, "Yeah, I just want you to bring three items or whatever the case is." So I'm thinking all the mileage that we got to put on our truck, the fuel, etc., to pay the guys. I'm like, "Hey, we could do it for 390." 390? That sounds expensive. Could you do it for 300? And I'm just like, "Oh my God, I already know I'm going to lose money on this." But I'm like, you know what? I need your job. So I'll do 300 and yeah, I lost tons of money, paying the guys for all the time they were out there, paying my office. Well, forget my office staff. Couldn't pay them with that. Paying U-Haul because I rented a U-Haul that day. My money was gone. I didn't make nothing off that job, but I was trying to do it for reputation.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Florida's different. I mean, it is true. I mean, like Orlando, I mean, it depending if you live on opposite sides of Orlando, I mean, you're 45 minutes to an hour away from each other. Both same city, which is
Yeah,
crazy, when you think about it.
15 minutes apart,
Yeah, I mean
10
it's
miles apart.
yeah. So when you're which when you have software it makes it easy, but before when we used to do everything pen and paper, just when someone would say, "Oh, I'm in Orlando, moving," also in Orlando, you actually had to figure out because that could mean they're, you know, two houses down, or they could be 45 minutes to an hour away from. Um, so that was interesting.
Yeah, so when you mentioned double drive time earlier, so similar to what you just said, if that company that was in California was in Florida and there was like a 45-minute drive from headquarters to that customs house, they pretty much don't get paid for that time for that 45-minute drive. They have to charge customers from origin to destination.
Yeah,
And when they do that, they have to double the travel fee between origin and destination, and that's how they make their travel fee in California.
yeah.
So that's
Who knows, man?
insane.
Regulations.
Hmm. And they continually changing it out there. I forget what they did with the AB5 law, where they can't have independent contractors like that.
Yeah,
And they end up kicking Uber out, or I think almost kicking Uber out of California, if not already kicked them out, because of the independent contractor law. Now they got the self driving vehicles out there so that they can, continue to make money in that market.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'll tell you, it's for software, it makes it annoying having to deal with all the regulations. I mean, I personally don't have to do it anymore in our organization, but we pretty much got one person. That's anytime regulation changes in any of the 50 states, and we find out that we got to change, and there's no if, ands, or buts. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's
So going over your model and structure, and how you came about, was it always your goal to have a big office space with office staff and stuff like that? Now that you see that
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
mm-mm-mm.
we got a little music playing. Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, was it
Um,
always your goal to have the big office
Sorry,
so,
with people
don't know what.
or go virtual?
oh, you're good. So, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, originally when I started Move It Pro, it wasn't even a thing. I mean, it wasn't even going to be called Move It Pro. You know, it was. I originally started developing it for an internal tool for Move It or for J&J Metro for our moving company. At the time back then, you know, this is like 2010, 2011, and that time, there wasn't much. We had, as far as competitors, I'd say for Move It Pro back then was Move Point, which was owned by Leaders Moving and Storage, was a big guy in you know in the industry. There was Granat, which I don't know how they're still alive, barely, but and then that was about it. You know, you only had two real moving softwares, and in my opinion, neither of them would really work for what we had and what we did. We didn't do a lot of long distance. Most of our all of our stuff was local, so that kind of knocked Granat out. Granat was mainly built for van lines, or not van lines, but long distance. You could obviously do local in it, but it wasn't as much built for it. And then MovePoint was originally built for Leaders Moving and Storage, which is a big moving company up in Ohio. But they did everything flat rate, everything flat price, period.
Mm.
And so their software was very heavy on flat rating everything. Well, in my opinion, when we had J&J Metro, I didn't like doing flat rate. We did flat rate on some stuff, you know, pianos, safes, stuff like that. There was a one piece, one item. We knew what we were getting into. But normally for us, when we were doing big moves, if we did a flat rate, someone got the short end of the stick. It was either us or the customer, and you never knew who was going to get the short end. A lot of times it ended up being the company. Because as you know, you get out there and things are not always as easy as you think they're going to be. You know,
Yeah,
the piece that you know, usually when you're giving a flat rate price, you're not looking at the destination. You're only looking at the origin when you're given that estimate.
good point.
And so when you're looking at that estimate and you're seeing what they're in, and you know it's pretty easy stuff, you don't realize that where it's going. You know this couch is going upstairs, but you didn't realize it's a curved staircase, everything going upstairs, or whatever the situation is,
Mhm.
right? And when you're doing hundreds and hundreds of moves and you start losing money on those, we just didn't want to do it. We just said we're not going to do that. We in our opinion at that time, and there's a lot of people that do flat rate, and I'm not dissing it. If you do it works for your company and it does good, I have no problem with it. But for us, we always felt it was more fair to us and the customer by doing hourly. Now we made sure we had guys that weren't milking the clock or doing bullshit to get more time, right? But the customer was actually paying for the physical time that it was taking the guys to move the stuff. And if the customer wanted us to move a couch 17 times, no problem. We'll move that couch 17 times because you're paying for it, right? Um, so anyway, so that was the thought process as we looked at these two softwares, and that was neither of them were going to work necessarily for us. And so I stupidly, and I can say that now looking back, again, it's around 2011, thought that I could hire a developer and at the time split maybe some ownership in it, and if he wanted to sell it one day he could, but I could pay him about $25,000 to build us a software. Well, that I know you're building something, Dwight, so as you know, that's a little number that's not really attainable.
Mhm.
And had some problems with developers because 25 grand. I mean, it's just nothing for a developer. I mean, they're not gonna. That's not their full time gig. That's not gonna be what they're gonna actually spend their time on, right? Um, and so 6 months or so went by, and I'd spent probably 70,000, and we still didn't have a usable product. And I was
Mm.
actually quite frustrated with myself because I just didn't know. Again, wasn't planning on selling Move It Pro. Didn't know the name of Move It Pro. We just wanted it for internal tool. J&J Metro at the time was doing, 7.5 million a year. So it was a good size organization, but to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a software for it probably wasn't in the best interest of the company. When you could pay for MovePoint or Granat for 200 or 300 bucks a month, right? And have a full
Yeah.
system and support and training. Um, And even my dad and I worked together for many years. He was in the movie industry for, I don't know, 38 years, something like that. And he was completely against it. Old school guy, ran the moving company since the 80s, built a really nice life. He grew up super poor. Um, and him and my grandma started J&J Metro, or bought J&J Metro, um, with the money that they had received when my grandfather had passed away. So my grandfather grew up very poor. My father didn't have much money at all. And then when my grandfather passed away, he died at 49 years old. My grandmother got $100,000 insurance money, and she bought with my dad J&J Metro back in '85. So it kind of gives you the story there. But as time went on, I realized, my dad, not that he wasn't a supporter of it or me, but he didn't see the vision. He didn't think we needed software. We could do it pen and paper. We've been doing it that way for 30 years. It's more work to put stuff in a software. We don't need to send estimates. We tell people the estimate over the phone, and we file it in the filing cabinet, right? I mean, he's old school. He's in his 70s now. Super brilliant man, but just stuck in the mentality of the baby boomers, of that era. And so I had to make a decision, because I didn't necessarily have his support financially, that I was going to pour everything I had into this and pretty much devote, my life into building this, and every penny that I had, or I was going to take it behind the barn, as I say, and shoot it and just be done with it and walk away from it. And many of us, in building a company in general, a lot of us struggle with relationships. It's hard to have a relationship when you're in the moving industry.
Mhm.
Philip, there, you're very lucky. Your wife works in the industry with you, but a lot of people, their wives don't want anything to do in the moving industry. They don't want to deal with it, and they don't want to have to deal with you being gone at Saturday when you got date night because the trucks broke down, or all the different things that are called on because you're in the moving industry.
Mhm.
And so I struggled through that. I struggled through, my friends were out buying new houses, and I didn't have the money to do it because all my money was going into Move It Pro. My friends were getting married and having kids, and I wasn't doing that. I was hyper focused. And so that was, again, I started this in 2010. 2011, I was all in, and I did not sell our first customer until 2016. So 5 years. It's a long time. 5 years, you're taking all the money you're making, renting a house, didn't buy a house, all the money I had and putting into that. And meanwhile, running J&J Metro, which while I was making good money, I didn't own the full ownership of it. I owned it half with my dad. And so all my money was going into that, and I was paying him also for my portion of the ownership of the company.
So you didn't get your first subscription to 2016, is what you were saying?
2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it did take a while for it to develop as well, as you
It did,
mentioned.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, we were developing that entire time. So by the time we got our first customer, I had about $600,000 into it. So
Mhm.
it was a lot of money. And that's why you saw that post I wrote the other day. There was a lot of times, man, when you're $500,000 into debt to yourself. It was my money I'd put in, didn't buy houses, didn't buy fancy car, didn't do any of that stuff, into something, and you've never gotten a customer. You can't even sell it yet. That's a big risk.
Oh yeah.
Um, and many times it could have flopped. Many times it could have, because when you're working with that, um, and you have that kind of debt to I mean, again, not to a bank, but to myself, had that flopped, I would have lost all that money. Um, but we did good. We started advertising. Gorilla Movers of Wisconsin was probably our first customer. They're still a customer today. Um, we've got, Two College Movers was maybe um, second or third customer, still a customer today. I mean, we've got a bunch of guys that, when I started hitting phones, I'm not a sales guy. I don't like selling. I can sell, but I don't like doing it. I don't like being pushy. You buy our stuff or don't, I don't really care. I mean, it's, you know, but I did it because that's what needed to be done then. I didn't have money to hire people. Uh, all the money was going towards development and servers at the time.
Oh yeah.
J&J Metro was using the system maybe from like 2015 or yeah, 2015 to 2016. So during that year, we were using it already. And Move It Pro back then looked nothing like it looks now. I mean,
Oh
it's
no, I can imagine.
um, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it was baseline. No GPS tracking back then, which we have now. No mobile apps. No call integration or call center. I mean, there's just none of that stuff existed. And so I think a lot of it was luck. I mean, I think we did really good. We came into the industry at a really good time. I think that my knowledge and the connections to the industry really helped a lot. Most of the software companies that have come out, they're not really directly tied to a moving company owner. A lot of them are software companies that built. Um, and they came in and they started a software. MovePoint originally founded by leaders, but they hired a development team just to do it. Come into our business and tell us how the software should be. And so we did a little bit of different look on it. So
So
uh,
what do you think about the industry now for CRMs with all of the saturation of, Chariot,
I
Movegistics,
think
Smart,
yeah, I think it's
all
great,
of these
man.
guys.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I get along with everyone. I love the moving industry as a whole. Again, I mean, there's literally pictures of me going up and down the aisles, next to crates on a four-wheel dolly when I'm 3 years old. I mean, I've been in this industry a long time, and if there's one thing, and this is in any industry, and the fact that competitors hate each other so much, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
There is more than enough movers in the industry. For all of us CRMs. And I think every CRM, I mean, I'm fine with five more opening. It don't matter to me. I mean, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. I think every competitor that comes out is going to help every other competitor get better. Because if we're all seeing that ones are developing this or one's going this way, we're all going to pivot and we're going to continue to do better. Um, Someone could say the same thing about Walgreens and CVS. How could they survive? They're competitors. They're always across the street from each other, but yet they do fine.
Mhm.
Most of our competitors we get along with pretty well. Um, Supermove, Ryan's a great guy. I've met him several times. Super nice. Chariot, we met them at the Titan retreat. Very nice. Came up to me. Smart Moving, yeah, well, they 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 don't like us much, but that's okay. I mean, it's just, it's part of the industry. It's part of, competitive spirit, and you go and you do what you can, and you do what you can to help the industry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know that like companies like Service Titans who, service kind of like
Yep.
the service industry as a whole, I believe. Do you ever get a chance to go to any of these like SaaS conferences just as a
Yeah,
development standpoint?
we've done a couple of them. Um, Most of those are not generic's not the word, but very broad range conferences in the sense of like, so for instance, Service Titan. I mean, they're servicing 200 industries. You know what I mean? Plumbers,
Hmm.
electricians, even Service Titan. I don't think they have many movers. Not that they wouldn't probably be a decent system. I mean, they're a built system. I mean, they're far bigger than us, but they weren't specifically built for a moving company. Their estimating is going to be a lot harder and stuff like that. So we've done some. We have a lot more success in. We were very involved in AMSA when AMSA was a thing. Unfortunately, COVID knocked them out. We started the Legends Retreat a couple of years ago, and that's almost unbelievable how much that's grown, which is really neat. We did Titans Retreat with Wade and them, which was really good this past year. We really try. Our focus really is moving industry. A lot of people come to us and say, "Why don't you do a branch and you know make some modifications to Move It Pro so it'll work for plumbers and electricians?" And it's all. I don't. As a CEO of a company, I don't want to take our focus off of what our primary goal is, which is the moving industry. And that's where we have passion at, and that's where we have friends at, and our the customers that we get to help. I don't know the least thing about plumbers.
Mhm. And I
I
think
don't know
Lewis,
anything about electricians, right? So
I think Louis Mazzaro said it best, and he was a great mentor when I was in the industry. I know he kind of made a little pivot.
sure.
But dig deep, dig that hole deep. Obviously there's gold to be made, especially in the moving
Yep.
industry, and to completely diversify and say, oh well, hey, I'm going to focus on this and focus on that, and now you're taking away from that hole that you could still be digging. Now it becomes shallow.
Yep.
Is only hurting you. And some people say the same thing about me. Oh, well, you're offering training or whatever the case is. Why don't you gear it towards the general public because you offering like leadership training, business training or whatever the case is. And I'm like, well, I'm gearing all my training towards the moving industry because that's what
Yep.
I know. I know people in the industry. I know where I can help them. I can't help every single body,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, I mean, back kind of to your question earlier of about like us getting a big office and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't the plan. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm an optimist and I'm definitely an entrepreneur. So I'm gonna take what I can get and I'm gonna seize every opportunity that comes my way. But as Move It Pro continued to build, we still own it. Our storage facility in Orlando, where J&J Metro was operated out of. Again, I was running J&J Metro simultaneously. I ended up building out office space, a couple thousand square feet, pretty small when Move It Pro started doing good. And this was a long time ago, 5, 6 years ago, something like that. Um, and we outgrew that in about a year and a half,
Hmm.
2 years. And it was either build more space there, which we did, added another 1,500 square feet, and then we outgrew that. And then we ended up getting this building that we're in now, which is, beautiful building right in a hospital district, big, beautiful building. We have the whole building, backup generators and multiple fiber optic lines coming in for backup internet and um, studio and broadcast studio, conference room that seats 30 people. I mean, we've definitely come a long ways, and it's interesting to look back to see um, success to me 10 years ago was J&J Metro was our moving company. We were a very successful moving company. We did really good. It provided really good for our family. And then to see that Move It Pro is far surpassed what that company did that had been open since the 60s is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And just to keep going, man. I mean, that's our goal. Our goal is to help as many people as we can, be affordable, and just continue to develop. We've never not continued to develop. We've got
Now, how do you
developers.
feel? How do you feel the industry? I know we're getting to the top of the hour, but how do you feel the industry as a whole may start to change as, a lot of stuff is going virtual, like people are working, getting VAs and stuff like
Yeah.
that to run the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll help the industry. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we use some VAs for our business here. Um, Obviously, Steve's doing a great job with that with ready rolls. I mean, we are. I think any help into our industry or any capital pour that anyone is doing into our industry is going to help as a whole. Um, I mean, I'm waiting for Elon to release Optimus so that he can start moving some boxes, right? There's so much, which we're probably a couple years away, right? But there's so much that could help our industry, technology wise, and with stuff that's coming out that I think is going to revolutionize the moving industry as we see it today. And I think confidently we can say that from 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I mean, the fact that 15 years ago none of our guys had cell phones. We were using MapQuest directions or a map in our warehouse. There was no GPS. Like there was all of that stuff has changed our company so much already. There was no CRMs 15, 20 years ago, right? Like how much has changed just in that short amount of time. And I think with AI and everything else coming out, I mean, I think we're rapidly moving towards automation and stuff like that. But I don't think most movers have anything to worry about in a bad sense. Like, I don't see, an Uber size company coming out and buying 10,000 Optimus robots and all the movers are now out of business because they just send it right. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be each independently moving company is going to continue to do better.
Yeah. So I know we're getting to the we are at that time. But what is are you planning on getting that new Tesla pickup truck? I know you got the Tesla truck already.
The moving truck or which one?
I think there's a Tesla pickup truck. Like they're coming out with different variations of it.
Huh. Yeah, I got a few vehicles. I got the Cybertruck now, which people rag me about. It's actually fun to drive. It's a pretty neat vehicle. We got my wife and I bought a really beautiful mountain lodge up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I don't know, 6 months ago or so, and it's pretty neat. You get in that Cybertruck, you load that thing up, and you put that thing in autopilot, and it just drives. You watch movies, man. You sit there, you just watch movies, and it just drives. And it's unbelievable what Elon's done with technology wise. I mean, not just Elon, but I mean the Tesla team in general with the autopilot. I mean, I got a new Mercedes S580, beautiful car, and it has autopilot, but it sucks, and it's brand new compared to Tesla. I mean, it's not the same. Tesla, that Cybertruck changes lanes, gets off highways, stops for people. If someone's about to hit you, it swerves out the way. I mean, and it doesn't. I don't know, I've put 10,000 miles on it in 6 months, something like that. It doesn't mess up. It does good. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty neat. So again, I mean, that's another whole thing. I mean, Elon's coming out with the semi truck, which people are going to start ordering, and I think that's going to help the moving industry some. It's going to hurt the van lines probably, or help them, whichever way you look at it. But they should be able to run loads a lot less expensive across the country now with those.
Yeah, so Melissa said, Phil's wife said,
Oh,
she wanted to just commend everything that Move Pro's been doing, for all the years that, both of them has been around dealing with you. So she just wanted to say thank you for everything.
that's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for being
Um,
a customer.
so Phil, I know that we're about to take off, but I know you old school. You ready to get that self-driving vehicle yet?
No, haven't quite got there yet, brother. Just like I said before, man. My wife. She's took over the moving company several years ago, and when I started the company, I was writing stuff on backs of cardboard and just hand it to her, like, put this on the calendar. But I'm not the most computer savvy guy. As you see, it took me about 45 minutes to get this video set up. But no, I don't think I'm there yet, brother. Maybe.
There's always time, man. I mean, here's the thing. I think it'll be a long time before it's mainstream. I think, everything that Tesla says they're going to do, they usually do it. But Elon is very optimistic. He'll usually say this car is coming out in a year, and it takes 5 years. But when you look at what he's done or what the Tesla team's done, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see, when we were all kids, I don't know about you guys, when we were kids, we all used to watch the Jetsons. The Jetsons, they had flying cars, and you used to dream about one day you're going to be having flying cars. Well, we don't have flying cars yet, but we got cars that are driving themselves, which is pretty cool, I think they're getting there. So it'll be interesting to see I think we'll see it in our lifetime. I think in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see a major change in the transportation industry as a whole, with a lot of automation and stuff like that.
The self-driving trucks that they already have. Penske already have them.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of time before, you stop worrying about having drivers.
Yeah.
And you just start letting your trucks drive to the location. Hey guys, I just need y'all to meet them there, or sit in the truck. And as soon as you get to the destination, start going to work.
Yep. Yeah. It's
But
definitely cool. So it'd be neat to see how it progresses and what happens. So
all right. All right, y'all. So thank y'all for joining and tuning in. Definitely, again, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. We definitely got to have you back in the future. Phil, it's always been a pleasure. Jason, anything before you go that you want to share with the audience?
only thing maybe would be, so Legends Retreat, I rented a 30,000 square foot mansion. I said that right, 30,000 square foot mansion in Orlando. And we've got a bunch of big guys, big moving company CEOs coming to speak. I rented it for 4 days. So 3 nights, 4 days. But we got a bunch of people coming in. We got a few tickets left. I think we got one suite left. And we got some day pass tickets where people will just come for, they can come for the days, but they got to get their own accommodations. But get that. We're only selling, there's like 45 moving company owners that'll be there. So I think you had last week Steve Reed, from Big League Movers, runs a $10 million moving company out of Memphis. He'll be there. He's one of the speakers. Eric Works is one of the speakers. I'm one of the speakers. My father's one of the speakers. We've got Greg Shepard from USA Home Listings, one of the speakers. So we got really good. Travis Weathers, one of the speakers who does SEO stuff. So we got a really good lineup, super cool guys, and it will be a neat place. A lot of the guys even are bringing their wives because this place has, lazy river, swimming pools, sauna, spa, bowling alley, indoor basketball court.
You got any pickleball for Phil?
On and on and on. They got pickleball, indoor pickleball court there. They got
nice.
It includes all your food and drink. So day pass tickets are $8.97, and that's for the full 4 days. You just pay $8.97. If you want to stay in the mansion, I think it's $28.97. If you're interested, just let us know. We're happy to give you a little discount if you're watching this, but if we still got tickets left. All right.
That's awesome.
Website's Legend, LEGEND, retreats.com.
Nice,
And that's March 27th through the 30th, something like that. It's on
well,
the
Phil,
website.
hey, if you're looking for a conference, Phil, I know that you didn't go to the last one that we, obviously not putting names out here. But,
Oh, they're good. Titans
definitely,
is great too.
definitely reach out to Jason because that might be a good event. Definitely to network with some people, and it's in your neck of the woods in a sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but all right, y'all, keep grinding out there, keep turning up. Make sure that obviously you guys are still doing what you need to do to make sure that you have a successful off season. Don't just rely on the next 6 months, starting in May. So just keep grinding, and we'll see y'all next week. All right, y'all, take care.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Last minute crisis? We've got you covered. When your moving staff is short, Moving Force steps in. Instantly connect with a network of trusted movers ready to handle the job. Fast sign-ups, trusted network, reliable solutions. Don't let last-minute issues slow you down. Help is just a tap away. Download the app and sign up for free today.